Testing 1, 2, 3. Testing this broadcast, podcast, and all kinds of other casts.
And now, from Greater Sandton and beyond, get ready for the SANDTON Times Hour
with your host,
Alexander.
That's right, it's the SANDTON Times Hour on Mix 93.8 FM and is always available as a podcast on Google, Apple, and Spotify. That's right, I'm Alexander Leibner. This is edition 79, week 33 of August 2022. As always, you can email editor@sandtontimes.co.za or on social media @SANDTONTimes, or visit the website www.sandtontimes.co.za and send us your questions, your comments, your thoughts. You're part of the SANDTON Times Hour Nation. Thanks to Darren and the Drive team on Mix. It's always great to be sharing the day with you. And I don't know, do they have the day off tomorrow? This week? Women's Month? Women's Day? I don't know. Well, thank you to you for making the time to listen and show your support as you tune in from all around the world and greater parts of South Africa. All is well in Sandton land. The team is here again. Vincenzo is in the production booth. And that's about it. Yeah, that's it, eh? No one else in for the longish weekend. And Vincenzo, thanks for that microphone you brought in. What Pick and Pay did you steal that from? It's like one of these public announcement microphones. Let me just quickly see if I can get this thing to work again. Hello. Testing 1, 2, 3. Testing. It's like broadcasting from the Middle Ages. Anyway, that's quite fun. We might use that in future. Well, what a week it's been, man. Birthday breakfast with Radisson Red in Rosebank. Can you believe it? They've been open for a year. The Radisson Red in Rosebank. If you haven't been there, go check it out. It's a very fun hotel, and they celebrated their first birthday. Then had some lunch with some delegates from the Taste Stellenbosch Food and Wine Festival that's taking place down in Stellenbosch. And they're trying to position Stellenbosch as this foodie capital. So if you're a foodie, well, maybe next time when you go down to the Cape, you might want to check out Stellenbosch and all the exciting things that they've got lined up. And they're also putting together this very interesting website where you can only buy wines from Stellenbosch. And some of the stuff is not available anywhere else. So the cellar masters of the Stellenbosch wineries have opened their cellars. And they've said, well, we've got some really fine old wines here. And we're only going to make them available through this portal, which is quite cool. Then I had an interesting dinner at Molo Lounge. Molo. Probably is the right pronunciation, Molo Lounge, which is at the Radisson Blue Hotel in Sandton. That's the one right next to Mushroom Park. They've got their new lounge that they've opened, and they do these interesting meals now. They've introduced very South African dishes. So if you're visiting from overseas and you want to try something local, where there's some great xhosa and other sort of dishes, very South African dishes. So you've got your dombolo, you've got your chakalaka, ushantini. I mean, a whole lot. I mean, grilled rump. You can, it comes in these melamine plates, and you get to really try out some very South African meals. So if you want to go try that out, go check out the Molo Lounge at the Radisson Blue, Sandton. And then let's have a look here. What else was there? Oh, yeah. The Red Hill School Red Fest. That was great. Did you go, Vincenzo? It was really cool. We went to go see Matthew Ribnick. And he's been doing Chili Boy and Monkey Nuts for 20 years, and I've never seen it. And finally, I got to see it. And let me tell you, I am richer for it. What a talent Matthew is. And funny enough, I saw him at an audition. We were both auditioning for a Swedish commercial. Vincenzo, can you believe it? Swedish commercial. 2 years ago before lockdown, and we said, we need to grab a coffee, and then we never did. And then we were all in lockdown and never saw each other again. And now here he was, doing Chili Boy and Monkey Nuts. If you haven't seen Chili Boy or Monkey Nuts, go onto his social media page, go find out when he's performing it again. It's really great. It's a really fun story. The performance is fabulous. And to think he does all these characters as one person on stage is just really something. Quick update from last week. We spoke about that ostrich that was running around on the highway. And Shane and Liesel alerted me on WhatsApp that the ostrich from last week has died. So right after the show, I double-checked this because the WhatsApp came through during the show. And yeah, Times Live reported that the stress of being on that highway for 6 hours and the stress of the rescue was just too much for the ostrich. And the rescue team said the ostrich didn't make it. Well, coming up on this week's episode, it's one of South Africa's largest and most established hotel brands. I'll be chatting to the CEO on the latest business updates and forecasts for summer 2022. Then she's one of South Africa's biggest celebrity names. We've spoken to her on the show before, and she's back with a brand new business venture. He's one of South Africa's funniest comedians, and he's returning to Johannesburg for a limited run of his hit show. And finally, I chat to the CEO of South Africa's largest online car website to talk about their latest report. This week's edition just slaps differently, let me tell you. It's like the Graham Norton show for SANDTON. Well, your headlines for the week are coming up shortly, but let's get this Women's Day longish weekend into full swing. Vincenzo, have a look. If you've got something suitable in your record box, I'm sure you've got something lacquer lined up for us.
You're listening to the SANDTON Times Hour.
This is the SANDTON Times Hour on Mix 93.8 FM with Shania Twain. Man, I feel like a woman. Bit of a deviation there from our usual electronic dance music sound that we got going on the SANDTON Times Hour, but how could we not? How could we not, Vincenzo? Good choice. It is Women's Day this week, so we just had to, have a bit of a moment there. I'm sure the ladies back home enjoyed that too. Let's take a look at your headlines for this week. Well, it's been a bit of a slow week, I think. It's got something to do with a public holiday, I guess. But we're having a quick look at the best-selling TV brands and sizes in South Africa.
What?
My Broadband did an interesting post on this. And did you know that Hisense, Samsung, and LG are South Africa's most popular TV brands in the first half of 2022?
Because people have got to know.
According to the sales data from Takealot, Macro, and Game. And us South Africans, the FIFA World Cup is around the corner and Black Friday is also coming. And what are we going to go buy? Televisions. I mean, how many televisions can we actually own? I ask myself. It's amazing how TVs are always the one thing that everyone goes and buys. Well, according to this piece, Takealot customers preferred the smaller TV sizes like the 40-inch. But Macro's customers have primarily opted for larger panel sizes, including 55-inch and 65-inch sets. So if you shop at Macro, it seems like size does matter.
I'm telling you.
And then Vincenzo, this week I thought we were going to introduce something new every week. And it's called Future Shot. And it's a quick look, like literally a 90-second look at some interesting stories that are taking us one step closer into the future. And here's our first snippet. And let me see what you think. Let me know. This is Future Shot, a taste of tomorrow and a look at the most significant developments this week that take us one step closer to the future. Popular animated sitcom dad George Jetson of the Jetsons flooded social media as fans of the show believed his birthday, as per the show, would have been around July 2022. Fiction aside, could this be the start of flying cars and robot nannies to come? Startup boom Supersonic unveiled its much-anticipated Overture airline. United Airlines has put in an order for 15 of these supersonic jets, which could potentially fly from New York to London in just 3.5 hours. Locally, Mogale Meat Company is developing a range of game meats, producing proteins by growing cells instead of hunting animals. It's early days, but the first product could be ready this year. Sports supplement brand USN has released an extreme performance esports nootropic supplement that improves reaction time and boosts brain power, targeting the growing gaming market. That's it for this week. If you enjoyed that, make sure to like, share and subscribe to the series. I'll see you in the future. So how's that, eh? There's a little bit of a snippet of things to come in the future. So if you thought today looks a bit boring, well, there's a lot coming up in the future, hey? So interesting stuff ahead there, Vincenzo. After the break, I catch up with Southern Sun CEO Marcel von Aulock.
You're listening to the SANDTON Times Hour. From Greater Sandton to the rest of the world. This is the Sandton Times Hour.
That's right. This is the SANDTON TIMES HOUR on Mix 93.8 FM and available on podcasts all over the world. So wherever you are in the world, if you're streaming this live, welcome. And if you're listening to this on a podcast, you're also welcome. And I'm glad that you've decided to subscribe and be part of the SANDTON TIMES HOUR. We kick off this week's episode with my first interview, and I'm thrilled to be joined by Marcel von Aulock. He is the CEO of Southern Sun. And Marcel, once again, I thank you so much for making the time to be on here. I know so many CEOs find themselves so busy that they don't have a chance to actually sit back and reflect on how things are going. And I'm glad you're going to be doing that with me. And you've gone through quite a challenging time, I would say, in the last 2 years.
Yeah, without a doubt, the hotel industry is probably one of the hardest hit by the whole COVID environment, or the greater hospitality industry. It seems like forever ago, but it wasn't that long ago where you couldn't sell alcohol. You had limitations on your capacity in your venues. You had restrictions on letting people in. It's just a disaster. So it's been a tough 2 years.
Yeah, and I remember, I think we weren't allowed to buy roast chickens and jerseys in the winter. I think that was the other big memorable one from a crazy period in our life. Marcel, what are things looking like for summer 2022? What's the horizon looking like for the hospitality industry?
So I'm pretty optimistic. I hope it's not a fool's optimism, because we've had a couple of false starts over this whole process. But it looks to us, the restrictions are gone. I can't see them coming back. We think there's going to be quite a big demand coming in. The market has changed. Everything's now what we call very short lead time. So we used to have a 2 and 3 year view out on what your peak season, particularly if your foreign travel, would be. That's gone. It's very short lead time stuff. People decide in a month for that month to get on a plane and travel. But all of that aside, I think summer is going to be good. The pent-up demand for travel is enormous. We had a false start last summer with the Omicron variant. We were just getting nice traction, and then we got put back on the red list and so on. And they cleared it pretty quickly, but the damage was done. But I think this summer is going to be pretty strong. There are headwinds. So your flights, for example, inbound are still not at capacity. Pricing has gone through the roof of the cost of flights. But I think people will grumble and pay the ticket. The demand is there.
Well, it certainly is no greater challenge for business when there's no predictability, when there's no consistency. It just makes it so hard to actually, turn up the gears and move full throttle. But what do you think it's going to take for South Africa's tourism to get back on track? I mean, at the moment, a lot of it is happening sort of organically, and we're taking it week by week and month by month. But is there something that could be done sort of, I wouldn't want to call the word artificially, but sort of, is there something that could drive tourism back to those numbers that we knew before COVID?
The demand for South Africa, the popularity of South Africa as a tourist destination is there. The barriers that are in place are not, unlike a few years ago, we had the visa debacles and unabridged birth certificates and so on. The current barriers are not really of our own making. They are things like high international fuel prices that are causing high price of flights. The disruption in the European airports that you've seen over their summer now is a deterrent to travel, because people will look at it and say, I sure don't want to go through that and lose my luggage for 3 weeks and have flights cancelled on me and so on. I think we're probably okay, because our summer comes obviously at the end of the Northern Hemisphere's winter. So our source markets peak travel impact on the airports and so on should decline, and that gives them a bit of time to get their act together. But those events are not of South Africa's making. They're part of the global supply chain disruption, for lack of a better description. I think what South Africa is going to benefit from is just pure pent-up demand. We're seeing it in terms of pure tourism, your beach ball, bush viewing, wine farm type of stuff, but also business tourism. So something interesting like the Sandton Convention Center, which, as you can imagine, has been absolutely dead for 2 years because you just couldn't do big volumes, has bounced back very strongly. So those events that were cancelled and were moved and were shifted and so on, and we always had a nervousness, are they going to disappear, have not disappeared. And that volume is coming back incredibly strongly. So I keep referring to this pent-up demand. I don't know how sustainable it is, or whether it's a wave that then settles back to normal, but people want to move. And as soon as they're allowed to move and they feel safe moving, they will do so.
Well, we're going to talk about our own backyard in just a minute. And I mean, it's just one of those great examples of Ubuntu. I am because you are. And the Sandton Convention Center is just that place for Sandton, where we felt the lack of activity at the Sandton Convention Center ripple through restaurants, hotels, transport, all of those were affected. But we're going to get to that in a minute. I wanted to quickly touch on the Southern Sun branding. And it's a name that we haven't heard in a very long time. We've known the business to be Tsogo Sun for quite some time. But there was a time when it was known as Southern Sun. And I see you've gone back to that brand. What is the reasoning or the rationale behind that?
We split out of the casino business. So the sort of short 2-minute history of Southern Sun is that it was originally a hotel group founded by Sol Kerzner, partnership with SA Breweries. It developed casinos in the old apartheid days in the homelands. That got split off, became Sun International. The hotel business carried on, got into the new gaming dispensation and became Tsogo Sun. And when I bought Gold Reef Resorts and so on, we listed it as Tsogo Sun, and it ran like that for 10 years. We then split that business in 2019 back to basically its origins. The casinos have stayed as Tsogo Sun, and the hotels came out separately. And I think at that time we actually made a mistake. We called it Tsogo Sun Gaming and Tsogo Sun Hotels. The theory was that they were so closely interlinked, but they're actually quite different businesses. So we've now said, look, to avoid this confusion, because everyone refers to Tsogo Sun, and there's enough confusion with Sun International, etc., we're going to go back to Southern Sun. Whether it'll work or not, I don't know. It's quite an easy rebrand. It's a corporate rebrand. So the company name changes. It is a well-known brand, and that works. The hotels themselves were never branded as Tsogo Sun. You always had Southern Sun Elangeni, Southern Sun Cullinan. So the actual consumer-facing brand has remained. And the Sunburst is quite an iconic little logo that we've got. I mean, I like to liken it, if I can, to the Nike swish. When people see that Sunburst, they know exactly what it is.
Well, certainly in South Africa, I'm sure it's going to evoke quite a few fond memories of the original Southern Sun business. And as it came back, I think there were very few people who went, "Oh, I don't know what that is," or "I haven't heard about that before." So you're probably going to
rebrand,
you're probably going to leverage that quite a bit going forward. Another thing that's happened, as I say, on our doorstep, talking about the Sandton Convention Centre, is that the former Intercontinental has now basically merged or grouped up with the Sandton Sun and has become one hotel complex. Tell us a bit more about that.
So we built those hotels originally as the Sandton Sun and Towers back in 1993. There was a sort of start. The Sandton Sun was the first hotel on Sandton City, which Donnie Gordon and Sol Kerzner put together back in 83. We built it as that. And over the years, we've experimented with bringing in international brands, the theory being that you're accessing different markets and so on. In this whole COVID debacle, we realized the international brands offer very little value. So we've taken over about 6 Marriott properties that we've rebranded to ourselves. And the franchise agreement for the Intercontinental came up, and we decided what we think there's big benefit in rebranding this as Sandton Towers and integrating the operations. Because you've got one holistic brand over the complex, it allows you to put the same back office systems, IT systems, etc., in place. And if you think about what that complex offers, I mean, it's pretty unique in the country. You've got the convention center, which is clearly the biggest, smartest facility in Sandton, that links by Skywalk into the Sandton Towers Hotel, that links by Skywalk into the Sandton Sun, and flows directly into the Diamond Walk, which, if you look at the results that recently came out of Liberty 2 Degrees, is just a spectacular success. I mean, the volumes that they are doing through the Gucci, the Louis Vuittons, etc., is enormous. And you've got this beautifully integrated complex with, I mean, we've just redone the gym at the Towers. It now just flows seamlessly between it. So a lot of it was just getting our own back office system in place and then marketing this as one single destination. And it was the last hotel that we've opened subsequent to the COVID debacle. But the Sandton Sun has been doing spectacularly. So we think this integration is just efficient and going to work.
Well, Marcel, I'm still yet to contribute to those Liberty 2 degree bottom lines, especially with Gucci. I haven't made my way there yet. But as we draw to a close, I wanted to briefly touch on the fact that you've obviously got a huge interest in Sandton. I mean, you own a massive slice of the hospitality pie and also the Sandton Convention Centre being at the heart of it. What is your outlook in terms of Sandton going into 2023?
So Sandton's been the weakest market to date. The Sandton Sun has been a bit of a beacon. It was the first hotel to open as soon as the regulations allowed, and it became a real hub for activity, all the regulations and so on notwithstanding. But the overall Sandton market is still pretty weak. There are a number of hotels that haven't opened. Things like the Michelangelo is still not trading. But we see it coming back now that this foreign travel is improving, both leisure and in particular business travel. We think Sandton will come back very nicely. It does kind of work in concentric rings. I mean, the Sandton Sun and Towers is the heart of Sandton, and you then work your way out to all the Radisson car train and further regions. You mentioned picking up Rosebank and so on. But we think it'll start coming back nicely now. You do need foreign travel. You do need airline capacity. and you need business travel. So the fact that the big banks have opened, the insurance companies have opened, just anecdotally, you'll see in the last 2 months, the traffic levels in Sandton have picked up quite substantially from what they were. So that movement is coming. And if we can get events like the Formula One that's proposed for April next year, it's just going to put Sandton like directly on the map. I mean, it puts you back on, I was using the example, puts you on the perfume bottle. And we're pretty confident of that. So we're really hoping that Sandton's going to come out of this into quite a boom time.
Well, Marcel, I hope you and I are going to be sharing a drink and a seat at that Formula One. Fingers crossed, and let's hope for the best that we get that. Coming to South Africa, Marcel von Aulock, he's the CEO of Southern Sun, giving us a quick update on the branding and also on the business as we move into the summer of 2022. We're at the bottom of the hour, and we'll be right back after this.
Back for more?
The Santon Times Hour continues.
See what we did there? Daniel Barron, Children of the Sun on the SANDTON Times Hour on Mix 93.8 FM. And how appropriate, after our chat with the CEO of Southern Sun. Well, this is the second half of the SANDTON Times Hour. I'm Alexander Leipner, and if you've just tuned in, don't forget, as always, if there's anything that caught your attention during the show but you didn't manage to jot down all the details, well, be sure to visit the show notes at www.santontimes.co.za for a detailed breakdown of everything discussed on the show. Also, make sure to subscribe to the podcast for free for Nix Mahala on Apple, Spotify, and Google Podcasts, and you can also follow the social media accounts at Sandton Times, and feel free to comment and connect on the WhatsApp line and use the hashtag Sandton Times Hour. It's not always easy to get through all the messages that you send through on WhatsApp, but we'll certainly touch on them as and when. Well, it's August. It's Women's Month in South Africa. It's Women's Day week. So you'll be hearing quite a bit from prominent women on this show over the next couple of weeks, one of which joins me right now, and I'm always happy to see her out and about. Boity, it's good to chat to you again.
Yes, thank you. How are you doing?
Yeah, Boity, excellent. No complaints, but moreover, how are you doing? It feels like we're always chatting when you're launching a business venture, and that's very often.
It is. I actually I was having a conversation with a friend of mine yesterday, and I was like, maybe it's time to slow down. Maybe there's too much happening. But then again, why? Why not do as much as you can? So yeah, I'm always busy. But I'm good otherwise. I'm really good.
That's great, man. Well, listen, Boity, last time we spoke, you were launching your Frisant, and I'm hoping that's still going strong. And now you're launching BU, which is something that I probably am going to struggle to really identify with. But it's a hair extension business with a company called Front Row. Take us through this new venture.
Yes. So I'm a shareholder in MVP, which is the holding company of Front Row. When we were having our bi-weekly meetings around, what is great for Front Row and what is what's the best way forward for them, I was like, you know what, I think the Front Row, Front Row it's got a lot of stunning, incredible hair, but it's mainly clip-in hair, which is kind of targeted towards mainly, white, Indian and colored women to a certain extent. It's not limited to them, but that is kind of their primary focus. And I felt like, I felt like it was time for them to kind of extend and add in a little bit more diversity and inclusivity. And that's where the idea of creating a fantastic wig range came about. And so we came together, we put our heads together. And for me, it was like a no-brainer to take that route with them, especially as pretty much a shareholder within the company. So I felt like it was a good move. And we put our heads together and we decided, to figure out how to bring my audience and more of the Black females, a wider range from Front Row, including, the wig range. So that's how it came about. It was an interesting one, but I think it was time.
Well, this is a massive business, this story of wigs and weaves and extensions and all the things to do with women's hair. How big is this business? What are some of the things that you identified where you felt, well, there's definitely space in the market for a new entry?
We know that the global hair wigs and extension market, it's a multi-billion-dollar industry. It's because it's a huge industry. Of course, it's obvious that it's a great space to be in. But apart from that, and the fact that anyone can create a wig range and anyone can create I think one of the things that women struggle with a lot is there's still a lot of hesitancy from consumers, and they're very skeptical because most of the time they get disappointed when it comes to the things that they see online and what is delivered to them. when they purchase wigs. So I think for us, the main thing was kind of bridging that gap of reliability and giving consumers quality and giving them exactly what they see. I think that was probably the main and most important part, is like giving consumers that sense of trust and knowing that if they choose to buy any form of hair from whether it be BU or front row, you will get what it is that you asked for, and you will get what it is that you purchased. And apart from that, we also have something that is very much unheard of, especially in the hair industry, a return policy that if you don't like what you received, you're allowed to return it, and we can see how we can help you forward. So I think that's probably one of the biggest factors, because a lot of people were asking me, yeah, but there's, it's oversaturated and the space is there, etc. But I think that for us was the main thing, creating a sense of reliability and a big factor of trust, and also delivering quality, which is, I think, the one thing that a lot of consumers are always struggling with when it comes to seeing these beautiful pictures on the internet and on Instagram, and they're being advertised, but then when they purchase it and it arrives, the quality is bad, or it doesn't arrive on time, or there's always issues with regards to trust. So I think we wanted to also bridge that gap.
So what does this range consist of at the moment as you launch?
When we started, I felt like it would be great to kind of look at my 3 pillars of personalities to a certain extent, because I tend to say I wear a lot of hats, but in this case, I wear a lot of wigs. And I felt like I wanted to kind of concentrate on, I think, the 3 pillars that stood out for me, even though they probably are more, and they'll probably give us leeway to create more, a wider range as time goes by. But we decided to start with, the entrepreneurial boss babe, which is obviously the me that is in charge, the one that is entrepreneurial, the one that is, on the go and is always working hard, etc. And then there's the showstopper, which represents the me who is on stage, who is always turning heads, etc. And then the queen, and I tend to believe that my home is my throne. And so I feel like the queen range was, for a more relaxed look, and also for a lot of people are working from home and want to look good at home. And so we created this other wig that was a representation of me being at home, but also still maintaining looking good for those Zoom meetings, etc. So yeah, those were the 3 pillars. So there's the boss babe, the showstopper, and the queen. And we decided to just have a play on my 3 personalities, and also the 3 various things that are kind of important pillars in my life, and also obviously to inspire other women who are in those positions as well.
Boity Tulo, also known as Boity to all of us, thank you so much for making the time to chat to us on the SANDTON Times Hour.
It's a pleasure, and I'd like to obviously give a massive shout out to all the women. I know that Women's Month in our country, more than anything, yes, it is a time to celebrate our strength and our power and the fact that we are the backbone of society. But a lot of the times it is a reminder of how harsh our true reality is as women. And I can only hope and pray, and I don't know what the universe and Mother Earth and God, if you believe, I don't know what changes we can ask for, but I'm really praying that the government and the police department, etc., they please just do their due diligence in trying to help and assist in protecting the women and children of this country. I just wanted to end it off with that message.
Strong message, Boity. Strong message.
Thank you, Alex. I love your professionalism, and thank you for having me on.
You're listening to the SANDTON Times Hour.
You're listening to the SANDTON Times Hour on Mix 93.8 FM, and I'm so excited to welcome my next guest, because the last time I saw him, which almost feels like a lifetime ago, I was laughing so much. I actually had the best evening out. It's Marc Lottering. Good to have you on the SANDTON Times Hour, Marc.
Hello, it's good to be chatting with you again. How are you?
Marc, I'm exceptional, and it's just so wonderful to know that theatre and comedy is coming back to life with a full audience, and you're coming back to Johannesburg with UNCLE MARC at Monte Casino. For those people who've never gone to any of your shows or who've never been to UNCLE MARC, which I know was on earlier this year, tell us a little bit more about this show.
The show was on earlier this year. It was, but at that time when we were at Monte, people were wearing masks and we could only get half the house in. And it's essentially my new stand-up show, which I've been on tour with this year. Because in some of my shows, I do various characters as well, but this one's just stand-up, which I absolutely love because it's my first love, and I can just go crazy and I don't have to wait for costume changes or anything. And in the show, I talk about life as a 54-year-old. I talk about the vitamins that we take every morning. I talk about how we navigate our way through life while still trying to stay sexy, because I know a lot of people because in the show I say, for us over 50s, we don't realize that we're over 50. In our heads, we're still 31, 32, but it takes some other person in a club just to say yo after we tell them how old we really are. So I've been having a great time with the show for people who are younger than 50 and with people who are older than 50. I didn't know the show was going to be such a hit, but I think that kind of topic just resonates with everyone.
Well, I know that your shows are always sold out, and that's always sort of the downside of it, is that by the time you get to hear about it, you jump onto the internet or you phone the box office and then they're telling you, look, it's already sold out, so you don't even bother. So if you're lucky, if you're listening to this, don't even wait for the interview to be finished. Actually get onto the internet right now or make a phone call or do whatever it is you need to do to try and get yourself some tickets to it. Like I said, I saw one of your shows, and I can't even remember what the name of the show was, but you did play a couple of characters, and I haven't laughed so much in such a long time. It was just, it still sticks in my memory now. I know it was a performance you did at SANDTON Theatre on the Square. And
oh, wow.
Yeah, Mark, I don't know if it's the accent. I don't know if it's just the everyday that just makes it so funny.
I think it's perhaps it's a combination of that. It's very interesting that you talk about the accent, because after Monte Casino Theatre, we're doing the show at Leicester Square Theatre in London, and then we're doing an Australian tour for the expats. But when I go there, the rule is, well, it's an unspoken rule, that you do the entire performance, speak slower and speak English throughout. But the expats hate that because they've not been to the country in 20, 30 years. So they've bought a ticket with their pounds or with their Australian dollars to hear that Cape Town accent and to get a South African feel. So, it's a catch-22 situation for me. I think I'd like to know that you laughed loudly, not just for the accent, but, for the jokes, because I make a living out of telling the jokes. And if people are not laughing, then I'm in a spot of trouble. So with this show in particular, it's just been so great to hear people screaming again with laughter after what we've been through. Life has changed for so many people after the past 2 years. And when they came back into the theatre, when we reopened this year, just to hear all South Africans under one roof, screaming with laughter, I mean, the Lord knows that we need it right now, especially in our country.
My goodness, Mark. No, I mean, we actually have so little to laugh about as the weeks roll on, and it must sometimes also be quite hard to try and find a subject that you can breach, where you can think, well, people can have a good laugh about this and actually not feel bad about it.
Alexander, I've lived my life knowing that we are all just passing through, and that at some stage we're all going to die, which is the truth. And I've had to make a choice. How do I want to live it? Because you soon realize it's actually, life is fast and things go by very, very quickly. So I've made a decision long ago to look on the bright side, to find the reasons to smile, because there are reasons to smile. But then, about 2 months back, because, if you follow me on Twitter or Instagram, I try and be positive, but it was just one of those days when they introduced load shedding stage 105, and then petrol went up again, and I just saw in the road, I saw taxis driving badly, and then potholes on William Nicol, and you just kind of think, am I coming across as Alice in Wonderland when I just post pictures of a wonderful sunset and walking my dog on the beach? And so on the one day, I just said it's becoming more and more difficult to be funny. But that was how I felt on that day. So I'm not close to the fact that it is in South Africa. It's a crazy time to try and be funny. But at the same time, while that was happening and people walked into the theater, I mean, the one night people walked in and there was load shedding, which wasn't scheduled, and it just went off in the middle of a story. And I've never had a better show than that. The audience screamed, because for 10 minutes, I had to speak with just my cell phone light to my face. and waiting for the technicians to try and make some magic and get the lights back on. You realize that this is the stuff that you need to talk about, and if it's possible, see the funny side of it. So, when we opened the show, for example, in Cape Town now, this season, the floods had just happened in Durban, and then I spoke about the floods in Durban and the fact that the Durban people went looking for 12 crocodiles as the floods were happening, because 12 crocodiles went missing from the farm, but they came back with 14. So between the audience and I, we wanted to know who the other 2 crocodiles were. And we had a whole discussion as to what the other 12 said when they saw the other 2. So these are all true stories, and these things happen in South Africa. So I guess it's the challenge for every comedian is to take these stories, and sometimes we don't have to work too hard to find the punchlines. Because believe me, sometimes when you listen to our politicians, the jokes really write themselves.
It's almost therapeutic, Mark. It's almost therapeutic. And we're all going through it together.
Oh, baby. Cheap. You get to see a good-looking comedian with fantastic skin, with outrageously sexy hair, and you get your therapy thrown into one, and there you are sitting at Peter Turin's Monte Casino Theatre from the 10th of August, I think it is, yes.
Yeah, well, Uncle Mark kicks off this week, 10th of August at Peter Turin's Monte Casino Theatre, and runs until the 21st of August. Tickets are available through CompuTicket and at the theatre box office. So if you didn't get any of that, well, you can also go onto the SANDTON today for all the details. And I think it's time for some music now.
Follow the SANTON Times on social media.
At SANTON Times.
This is it, the SANTON Times Hour on Mix 93.8 FM and available on podcasts wherever you are in the world. Don't forget to subscribe and download it every week, and then you get your digest straight to your mobile device, and you can skip the FM, or if you want the FM, well, then you get to hear all the songs that play in between, like this last one, which was Jubal, Dancing in the Moonlight featuring Mienie. Who comes up with these names? I mean, can't these people just have normal names when they sing these songs? It's just unbelievable. Well, as we round off this special edition for Women's Day, I'm thrilled to be joined by AutoTrader's CEO, George Mienie. And George, I'm so glad we finally get a chance to chat.
Absolutely my pleasure to be here, Alex, and really happy to. I think it's the first time I'm on your show, but it's not the first time I'm on Mix.
Well, George, I mean, if you haven't been on this show, I mean, I question all these things. But George, listen, it's so great to have you on. And I know AutoTrader's just released a report on some of the stats that you've picked up in terms of online cars being sold and bought. And we do a lot of motoring content on the show. So I'm really interested to get sort of an overview from you on this report.
Yeah, so I mean, Alex, the reality of the situation in our business is we sit on a mountain of data. As a car platform or a search platform, effectively, people think. I've had the question before, do you sell cars? Do you buy cars? No, we don't. We're an intermediary platform. We sit in the middle of the buyer and the seller. And our fortunate claim to fame is that all of the data from a car supply point of view and a car demand point of view flows through our platform. We probably have in the region of about 85, I'm hoping north of 85% of all vehicles for sale in South Africa on our platform. So you can see that the amount of data flowing through the platform gives us insights into how the industry, how the consumer buying market is performing and acting, and how the dealer selling market or even the consumer selling market is performing or acting. And if we put our ducks in a row and we tag the platform properly and we spend years doing, we get some interesting insights. And what we try and do is play our part to give these insights away for free to the automotive industry, to the car driver, to the general person out in the consumer market. And we do that on reports.autotrader.co.za. If anybody wants to go there, there's lots of reports to download about electric vehicles. These industry reports that we're about to talk about are there. We've been doing it for a couple of years now. So So this particular industry report is no different, and it takes into account all of that data that we've garnered. Is that the right word? Garnered. I almost said garnished, but I think that's a food thing. Garnish is garnish is a food thing. Garnered from the traffic. So to give some perspective, we've called this report Refueled, and the reason it's been called Refueled is because of the fuel problem price. Everybody's so I don't want to. It's a bit of a swear word, but consumers are changing their requirements because of the fuel price. I mean, 26 rand a litre. Who ever thought it was going to get there?
It's very topical, definitely. What are some of the key trends that are appearing when you look at this data?
So, I mean, besides the fact that we sit on, 349 million searches for the first half of the year, which gives the report quite a bit of weight. If you whittle that down, that's 22 online searches for a car every second. You just let that digest for a second. So some of the key insights that we've got out of those 22 searches per second is the sheer fact that car prices have increased. So generally from the supply side, car prices have increased by about 9%. The average car on AutoTrader's platform has gone from 389,000 Rand to about 424,000 Rand. And mileage on average hasn't gone up as much. It's only gone up by 2% from 75 to 77,000 kilometers. The average car has on AutoTrader. And obviously the average year model that is listed on our platform has moved from 2016 to 2017. As time goes on, obviously those year models are going to go up. But the other key interesting insight that we found, or the key change, because often we're looking for change, is that BMW has been bumped to number 2, and VW has trumped them now.
Interesting.
So historically, BMW was the most searched for car on our platform for years and years and years. For the first time in 2022, Volkswagen has trumped BMW.
But now tell me, you've also had a huge upswing in electronic vehicles, which I suppose, or electric vehicles, or alternatively driven vehicles. And I suppose that's not just down to the petrol price, is it?
No, I think the petrol price is helping drive the trend, but I think there's a couple of other things. I mean, we've seen a doubling, and in some instances, particularly with hybrids, 130% increase in searches for that kind of, if you could call it a fuel type. I suppose it is a fuel. It's electricity. It's energy type. Maybe we should change the term. Whereas diesel and petrol have grown by the mid-20s, 24 to 26% year on year, off a very small base. So to give you kind of some of the numbers, hybrid and electric car searches are in the region of around 1.3 million searches in the first half of this year, whereas they were in and around 500 to 600,000 searches for the same period in the previous year, last year, right? Okay, but juxtapose that against 17 million fuel type searches. So 1.3 million fuel type searches for electric and hybrid, over 17 million total fuel type searches. So you can see that the number of electric and hybrid is still small in relation to the overall search and appetite by the consumer, but growing at a much faster pace. It's more than doubling every single year.
And I think it probably also gets even more interesting when you start comparing reports year on year or quarter on quarter or as they're released, and you can start comparing the data and seeing where the trends are. So George Mienie, he's the CEO of AutoTrader, has joined us to talk about their latest report, and I'll also put up the link on the SANTONTimes.co.za under show notes if you're interested to really dive deep and get some more info on some of the data that's coming out of AutoTrader. That's it for another Santon Times Hour on Mix 93.8 FM, and as always, it's available as a podcast on Apple, Google, and Spotify. If you want to get in touch, you can email editor@santontimes.co.za, or you can also connect on social media @SantonTimes, or visit the website www.santontimes.co.za. Feel free to connect as well and send through your questions or comments. It's always good to hear from you, and you can always send through those thoughts. Thank you to all our guests for this week who've made the time, and big thank you to you, Vincenzo. Great stuff as always, and thank you to the Santon Times team as well as everyone on Mix 93.8 FM. Let me Wish you all the best for Women's Day this week. Make the best of it, and may it also pull through to the rest of the year. Thank you for listening, and let's connect again next week.
That's it for this week. Thanks for listening to the SANTON Times Hour. And if you enjoyed it, be sure to share it.